In this EcoWest.org presentation, we illustrate how Western states compare in their greenhouse gas emissions. This flowchart, created by the World Resources Institute, shows the sources of greenhouse gases in the U.S. economy and how they are produced. Nearly one-third comes from providing electricity and heat to buildings, and more than a quarter is from transportation, mostly driving. Nationally, 3/4 of GHG emissions come from three sectors: electricity generation, transportation, and industrial operations. GHGs have risen steadily since 1990, with the growth slowing in the mid-2000s, partly due to efficiency improvements in transportation and the electricity sector, and partly due to a slowing economy. The Western states' source profile is very similar to that of the entire U.S. Here's another view of how the West compares to the U.S. as a whole. The 11 Western states are responsible for about 17% of total GHGs. Without California, the Western states would be about 10% of nationwide GHGs. Some sources are more prominent in the West, and particularly in California, shown in green. Transportation really stands out as a major source in California. Elsewhere, fugitive emissions from oil and gas drilling are especially prominent in the Western states, accounting for 42% of the U.S. total. Because most GHGs come from the combustion of fuels for electricity and transportation, economic activity is highly correlated with emissions. Not surprisingly, California is the largest source of GHGs in the West. Interestingly, California, Oregon, and Washington differ from more inland states in their source profile. Transportation makes up roughly half of all GHGs, whereas for inland areas like Wyoming, Arizona, and Utah, electricity generation is the predominant source. California, while making many efficiency improvements to its electrical grid, is also the largest importer of electricity from out of state. 30% of California's power comes from its northwest and southwest neighbors. Wyoming and Colorado, on the other hand, export power. Some states also have the capacity to absorb significant GHGs into their forests and other potential sinks. This slide illustrates how some states' land use and development policies reduce their overall GHG footprint. Most notable are Oregon, Washington, and Montana, with each state's net emissions reduced by roughly 35, 50, and 90% respectively. While California's land sinks reabsorbed almost as many GHGs as Montana's did, the sheer size of California's footprint muted the reduction to only 10% of statewide GHGs. Thanks for watching this presentation. You can download more slides and other libraries at ecowest.org.